I was away, but yeah, got some internet problems. So what we need to look for is which Alright, if we look at the file, which one app units equal 0.6, resource updates in this group, resource updates, API, right, push font, resource updates, I just got an idea of how we can prevent continuing is just to say return, and then we make this an extra function which is also push font. Right, so yeah, we also need to do font shaping and such. So we just say, okay, push font ID, font size, app units, app resources, resource updates, and render API. So yeah, this is basically what we want, right? Push font, font ID, font size, app units, AU, AU per px, min AU, max AU, AU. units, app units. Right. AU resource updates. Resource updates, app resources, render API. Right. Font ID, resource updates, render API, app units, min AU, max AU. Seems to be pretty nice, does it? Render API. Right. So we add the font instance and we return the font instance key, and then what do we do with it? Oh yeah. We need to live font data, fetch glyphs, render, get glyph index, rasterize glyph, font instance, get glyph dimensions. How does he actually push the... Okay, now I don't know how we can actually use this font instance key to finally put a character on the screen. Right. Draw. No, it's probably in the text layout. Source, glyph. Blob, bit, display list, builder. So let's see if we have any function that can be push clear rect, push YOB image, push text. So, push text. Push font. Right, and what we need is we need to have a option font instance key. Right, then here we return none. Here we simply return some font instance key. And here we say, okay, we return none, right? So the only way to have this is to have the actual font instance key, and this will be generated once we have the actual smaller than min AU is bigger than or. So and then we have builder.pushText. Builder.pushText. Now the problem is, where do we get the text from, right? We have the layout with height. Then we have the style, right? Style. Then we have the start node, display rectangle, solved layout, start node. Start node only has the ID, so rectangles, display rectangle, UI description, start nodes, right? UI description arena. Node data, so node data, node type, and then we have the, if we get the node type, then we have the, then we get the text. So if instance font key, we can already say, okay, font instance key, color, let's just say const font color. Yeah, this is actually another thing that we need to pass the font color. Font color. And then we want no glyph options. So we have the primitive info, reference info. Push text, reference info, glyphs, glyph instance, font instance key, color, none, and then the only thing that we want to have is, okay, glyph instance is a glyph instance wait, they have they actually have a what's the index? This is the glyphs. This glyph instance index and point is the type point to the, oh boy, XY layer pixel. Zero type point to the use util type point to the zero index. Say what's the ASCII index of the font. So glyph instance position glyphs descent text layout get positions glyphs. Yeah, right, line height, self.line height, metrics, texts at text rect font yeah, this is pretty okay, right? Yeah, we need to have this anyway. So this is another thing where we want to font rect type of rect does he want? Rect. Where does this rect come from? Self.types.rect. I mean, yeah, rect. Right, but where does he actually backlift instance? Glyph instance index glyph.id.0, which is, right, we will use maybe a different layout. So we'll just say, okay, we have the glyph, lowercase a. Then we want to have, okay, we only can do this if the font ID is something. Font ID pass push font, and then reference to a font dash a and some font, so we don't have to so this is pretty much insane. So index font dot glyph that position equals glyph dot position, get positioned glyphs, positioned glyphs dot id dot 0, glyph dot id dot 0, so now we just have to say first type font glyph glyph ID for into glyph ID. Yeah, for character. Font.glyph. Right. And just say it's 0. Oh boy. Somewhere I clicked. Yeah. Oh. Push text. CSS parser font. No. Rust type font. Rust type font. Font instance key. Resources. Right, because we're taking the app resources A, mute app resources A, and please don't, lifetime mismatch, but data from app resources flows into app resources here. Yeah, this doesn't work. We have to push font. Basically, mute app resources. This doesn't work. Font instance key. If we get the font instance key back, we know that we have to get the font, so there is no other option. But if let's font instance key equal app.resources resources at font data at font ID. So app resources. It's perfectly safe, but I can't really satisfy the compiler here. So Rust type font dot 0. Would this actually work? Oh, mute. Yes. App resources font. So now it's the question, you know, if this works, I might just take a break, because it's really getting the fonts to work is really a lot of work. You know, so it does get, but it doesn't draw the font. The font instance key, and then we pushing the text, push the border and push the clip. Not sure where I have to do this, but pushing text twice. But yeah, we are pushing it for everything. Technically this should work. Not sure why we're not seeing any we see any. Maybe we have to set the alpha to 0. I don't know. But doesn't really change anything. Layout size 0. Maybe the type point to D. So it's pushing the text for every rectangle, which is what we want. But we do not get any text on the screen. Which is weird, because maybe the font isn't named correctly, which could be the case. No. But it is, but it's added properly. You know, Weebly Sleek UI. You know, it has the font. I don't know why it's not working, but the font is present. Hmm. Hmm. I mean, Web-based leaky UI has an A, right? Has an A. Type point to D. There it is. See? There we go. There we have the A. Right on top of the cat's image. So yeah, this is probably enough for today. You know, we are going to do the whole positioning and so on and so forth. But we have an A. It's faintly visible on the cat. So yeah, we've got text going. Yeah. So that's basically it. Tomorrow we'll worry about getting the glyphs correctly so that we can render actual strings, getting the label, and then getting the positioning to be correct. And so yeah, we will need to have some sort of overflow system for the glyphs to have actual scroll bars and, you know, cut off and so on and so forth. So, you know, there's still a lot of work to do, but we at least got one glyph to render on the screen at a certain size, at a certain position. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. Right, we've come a long way. Yeah. So, you know, adding the parsing for the font color, adding the font instance and so on. And it's just, you know, it's getting there. You know, it's not performant in any way. It's currently heavily overdrawing, but we're getting there. So thank you all for watching. I just see if anyone has questions, just put them in the chat. You know, I'll just go through and see if anyone has questions. But yeah, this is what we have. this is what we have. Right. Now let's run it one last time as release, and if you have questions, just put them in the chat. Yeah, so we'll compile it as release. And that's it for today. That's it for today. I know you can't see this much on the stream, but there's a slide, there's the A actually appears, you know, the character actually appears in green. And yeah, you know, the rest is just filling with the settings, really. But just getting something going, getting something out there is, yeah, so if you have questions, just put them in the chat and I will try to answer them. But for today, this, I think, is then the end of the stream. I apologize for connection issues, and we'll just wait until it builds, and yeah. Thanks, Felano. I can't always explain things because, you know, if I was explaining everything, I'd be starting over all the time. But I mean, you can. I've put it in the description where you can find the project. You know. Yeah, it's on this panel, and yeah, I'm trying to get this GUI system up and running. So, you know, we've got images, we've got borders, we've got clipping, we have, you know, box shadow is currently not working, but it was working earlier on, so it should work. We have characters, we have fonts, you know, and then what we need then is layout. You know, I've already prepared all of the caching system for the layout, so all we really need to do is configure the constraints properly, and you know, that's all there is to a GUI system. And you know, enable hovering and asynchronous functions. Those are basically the 5 points that we still need to do in order to have a workable GUI system. But then, you know, the frame time is not too bad, 1-2 milliseconds. It could be better, but you know, you can use this for games probably if you want to. So yeah, any moment now. We'll compiling in release mode is always slow, so yep, let's just see. Yeah, and this is it. This is I'm not sure if you can see this on the stream, but there is right here where my mouse cursor is, there's the A, a green A, which basically means that this thing is working. And then we have the red things up on top. And yeah, there's that. So I hope you all had a nice evening, and goodbye.